up, Kevin?
How you guys doing?
Good, how are you?
Good.
Kevin, how do you get an offense ready to play when it's nice and sunny here in LA and warm this week especially, and then you got to go to Green Bay? How do you get them ready for that?
Well, all of our guys at some point have played in cold weather. Whether they're veterans that have played in the NFL in some of the cold cities or on the road, or even the young players. Almost everybody, for the most part, has experience in it. Everybody's got their own routine, their own way of kind of handling it. We obviously talk and preach about the ball security and preach about making sure those guys have the right footing and the right cleats. And then just, it's about getting out there on Saturday and getting a great feel for it. And then as the game goes on, I think guys in their own way have ways of dealing with it. But, when it's going to be cold is one thing, but, hopefully we're able to, avoid some of those other elements that can happen that time of year up at Lambeau. What a place to play, a great venue. And we're really looking forward to heading up there.
How does that cold or those conditions affect a quarterback that's, still kind of not far removed from thumb surgery, or one that suffered a neck injury last week?
Yeah, I think, could affect both those guys in different ways, obviously with the different kind of bangs and bruises that we got going on right now. But I think, like I said, just answering the question a second ago about, dealing with the cold and playing in a cold weather game, it applies. You just try to maximize doing whatever we can on the sideline in between series, obviously pregame. But, our equipment staff does a great job. Brendan Berger does an unbelievable job having our guys ready for warm weather games, cold games, all the different elements, slippery surfaces, whatever it may be. He's on top of it, and our guys rely on him. And those guys do a great job from an equipment standpoint, getting those guys ready with whatever they may need. And then it's up to each individual guy, Reggie and the training staff, making sure, there's a plan for each player to have them at their best.
And Kevin, Sean asked about that decision, he may have to make in terms of who's going to play, who's not going to play last week. And how do you're with Jared every day, I was, all the time, much more than Sean is, even though I know he's really involved. So what kind of give and take is there between quarterback, a guy who's been a starter, who wants to play, says he's ready, but isn't going to play, and, you who are kind of his counsel, most of the day?
Yeah, it's a good question. And I think I give Jared a ton of credit, just how he's handled his preparation. And that's how to make it about for all the guys in our quarterback room. But obviously, when we've got a couple guys that, I'm asking to both prepare in a way to get themselves ready to play, we rely on the details of the plan, making sure that everybody in our room knows that what their role is, what their job is, as playing quarterback as part of our 111th on offense. That really helps put everybody else in situations to have success. And we can't have a good walkthrough, we can't have a good practice without the quarterbacks being prepared for that phase of the day leading up to what's hopefully really solid execution on game day. So, we try to keep things as tight with our focus to that particular phase of the game plan, what we're really trying to lock in as we go throughout the plan. And then, let Coach McVay, see the things he needs to see, as well as, all of us on the offensive staff across the board, making sure our guys are in great positions to have success. But it starts with that preparation. And really, if you lose focus on that, it doesn't matter how healthy one guy is over the other, our performance won't be where we want.
When we look at Jared over the course of this season, I think there was expectation of him taking a step forward this year with your help, with off-season work, just with another year of experience under his belt. What's your assessment of his progress, if that's what it was this year?
Yeah, I think that there'll be a ton of time for kind of that larger scale reflection at the end of our season. But just looking back on things, there's some real moments where, I personally saw some growth in him playing the position, leading our offense. And then it just comes down to consistency for him. And I think he'd be the first one to tell you that week in and week out, quarter to quarter consistency where so much runs through the quarterback position in our system. When he's consistent and he executes at a high level, we're normally doing a lot of really good things on offense. And that's just constantly my challenge to him, is how focused can we remain? How dialed in can we be to the details of doing his job, which will only help everybody else on the offense. So I think, good moments and good things for him to really reflect on, the positives, but then understanding the always critical point of playing consistent at the quarterback position.
Go online to Eric and then Claudia, please.
Hey, Kevin. You guys were able to get some red zone scores against Seattle last week after struggling the previous 2 weeks. What changed for you offensively?
Well, I think, when you look at it, we obviously Cam punches it in on our first touchdown down there, and just the physicality you saw up front. I mean, the Seahawks were going to try to stop the run, and even though they did at times, they loaded up the box at times. I give our guys up front so much credit, the tight ends on the edges, and then Cam, just the finish that he had. Our receivers getting downfield multiple times, but down in the red zone, everything gets condensed. 9 times out of 10, you're going to have to put your foot in the ground, get downhill, and maybe run through an arm tackle or two to have to score in those low red situations. And then obviously, Jared's touchdown there at the end of the game was kind of a look we were hunting up. Jared did a great job getting to that play at the line of scrimmage. We had talked about it quite a bit on the sidelines with Sean throughout the game, and the look presented itself, and the execution was at a really high level from everybody right there. So I think it comes down to, what did I just say? Physicality in the run game. And then obviously when you are going to throw it, the execution level, everything does happen faster down there, whether you're playing against man or zone coverage. The execution from the quarterback on down to the wide receiver group, and who's ever receiving the ball has to be top notch. Otherwise, more oftentimes than not, you're going to be, really running uphill on things and struggling to complete balls down there if the timing and execution isn't top notch.
One quick one. You mentioned weather this weekend. Cold doesn't seem like it's going to be an issue, but having been to Lambeau before, wind can be an issue. Does that change what you guys can do offensively if it is a little bit windy? Doesn't look like it's going to be, but things could change.
Yeah, always expecting, to deal with whatever changes come. But I think the big thing is you just deal with it as you can, and it's an assessment amongst all of us as coaches and talking to the quarterbacks how it may or may not be affecting them, depending on what the direction it's coming from, what it may be. But on a cold, windy day, you rely on your run game. You rely on making some throws when you can. But that winning the line of scrimmage will be a huge part of it, as it always is in January when you start talking about playoff football. And that was one of the big reasons why we had some success last week, and hoping we can carry that over.
Thanks, Kevin.
Hey, Kevin.
Kevin,
Go ahead, Claudia.
Sorry, Claudia.
Kevin, when you look at the Packers secondary with Alexander, Savage, and Sullivan and the others, what kind of pressure does that put on the quarterbacks and receivers?
I think it puts a lot of pressure on them. I mean, they've done a really nice job this year, competing. They play a lot of, whether they're playing man or zone, there's a lot of match coverage principles to what they do. So no matter what route you're running, no matter, the matchup you may draw in that particular play, you better be ready to, really stress your technique and fundamentals, because these guys are really, really good across the board. They compete for the ball when it's in the air. They've got, really good pass rush, obviously, that puts pressure on the quarterback to, play with tight fundamentals and techniques. And then our guys got to go win, get on an edge and win in the rhythm of the progression of the quarterback. So there's a reason why they've had so much success. So the reason why they're the number one seed, heck of a challenge for us going up against this group.
Kevin, we talked to other teams a lot about how they game plan for Jalen Ramsey being a shutdown corner against them. But what do you guys do when a team has a guy like Alexander, who is pretty clearly a shutdown corner as well? Does that affect the way you plan a game? Does it affect the way you coach?
Oh, you have to know where he is. I mean, he's earned so much respect around the league this year for what he's put on tape, and really not just this year. It's been, ever since he got into the league, he's been an impactful player for this team. So you absolutely have to know where he is. You have to know how you're, scheming matchups, how you're trying to potentially help your guy. It's first, second, third down, red zone. He's flashed all over the tape. It would be very arrogant to say, you're not even thinking about him at all. We're very well aware of him. And it's important that our quarterbacks have that understanding as we go up there to play these guys.
Hey, Kevin, you were a starting quarterback in college. You and Sean talk often about how quarterback is the toughest position to play in the NFL. When you going back to Jared, and you have a starting quarterback who says he's ready to go, and actually came in and showed he could play against the Seahawks, but the coach opts not to go with it and start someone else. What does that do to a quarterback's confidence, and how do you kind of recover from that?
Well, I think the level of communication of which we have in this building, and from player to coach, coach to player, there's really nothing that really needs to happen from a recovery standpoint if the communication's where it needs to be and everybody's on the same page. Obviously, coming back from surgery and a significant injury, I thought Jared showed tremendous toughness, and the fact that he was able last week to absorb the game plan with little to no reps going into that game, come off the bench when John gets injured, and really do the things he was able to do to lead our team. Was the execution perfect? No, but from a toughness standpoint and ability to lead the group for a tough road divisional playoff win, I told him right after the game, man, unbelievable accomplishment by him. And I think the rest of his teammates really responded to that. So I think that just shows you right there the mental toughness to go along with the physical toughness of dealing with the injury. Really was impressive from Jared.
Thank you, guys. Thank you, Kevin.
Appreciate it, guys.
Thanks, Kevin.